Hi, my name is Ray Kerlick. I'm a partner in the law firm of Wadler, Perches, Hundl, and Kerlick in Wharton, Texas. Today I'd like to talk a little bit to small business owners about ideas involving employee handbooks and policy manuals. I think what we've found is, over the years, a lot of our clients do come to us asking about the concept of employee handbooks and policy manuals, thinking that either they need to have them, or do they really need to have them, or what should we do? I think the short answer is you need to evaluate your company's needs. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a company that employs 50 or more people, there are very specific items that you absolutely should have in an employee manual. A lot of these are mandated by the federal government, some by the state government, some by your insurance companies, and some by your workers' comp carriers. But when you get to a level where you're got that many people that you're employing, you should certainly make an attempt to sit down with an attorney and figure out what needs you need to meet and put those in writing. Typically, an employee manual will involve also having all of your employees sign off on the employee manual, understand that it is a condition of their continued employment. There are other situations in which you would say perhaps nothing quite so elaborate is needed. Because remember, once you do have an employee manual or policy manual of some sort, you should follow it. And if you don't follow it, recognize that you could be held responsible or liable in some way for failing to follow it, whether it be in an employment setting, employment dispute of some sort, or whether in a future lawsuit of some sort. So these are items that should not be undertaken lightly, and certainly shouldn't be copied from off the internet, which is certainly what we see a lot of folks doing. Recognize that once you put something in writing, whether you've copied it from a competitor or just taken it off of a website, you're potentially held to that responsibility. And that's not always something that you want to do. Certainly not if it's not being required by a governmental entity or your insurance company. There are certain items that probably always ought to be covered, though. So even if you have a small shop with 3 or 4 employees, you should always have certain things like an absentee policy, basically that provides how much time people have off and what happens if they fail to show up for work. That's the most common reason, at least in my experience, for people terminating employees is failure to show up for work. And oftentimes people come to me and say, well, this person hasn't shown up over 3 days, and so I'm going to fire them. It certainly makes it a much more defensible case, should some action be taken later, if you have something in writing that says, for example, someone doesn't show up for 3 days, they're terminated. That way you followed your procedures, they violated your procedures, and therefore you've got a valid basis that no one can really argue about in terms of the basis for their termination. Real briefly, we'll talk about safety manuals. Oftentimes, safety manuals are discussed at length by insurance companies and by folks involved in the safety business. Recognize what that means. Someone in the safety business certainly has a right to suggest that you have a safety manual, but once you have a safety manual, you'll have to follow it. And if you fail to follow it, oftentimes that will be the strongest evidence against you should a lawsuit ever be filed against you in the future. So, again, this is something that should not be taken lightly, and certainly should never be something that's copied from another company or simply taken off the internet. You absolutely need to sit down with someone who can evaluate the risks that your employees undertake and help you craft a policy that allows you to have both the flexibility you need on individual jobs, as well as laying down bright lines that you feel like your employees and your supervisors need to follow. So take that time, sit down with someone, and help put together a joint effort, that is a employee policy and a safety policy that fits your company. We look forward to hearing from you if you have any interest in discussing this, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.